Hey there everybody, I'm Stone from Mountaintop Kitchen, and today I'm sharing the 2 cupcakes we worked hardest to get just right. I tested all the top vanilla and chocolate recipes out there, tweaked the crumb, balanced the sweetness, and whipped up frostings that are smooth, stable, and not overly sweet. These are truly celebration cupcakes that deliver every time. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's get started. As you've already heard, we are on the quest to make the best, the ultimate vanilla and chocolate cupcake ever. Over the last month, we've tested many popular recipes, and we saw what worked, what didn't work, and we reimagined the cupcake from the flour up, as we like to say. So you want to get started by setting your oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius. Now, if you have a convection oven, you want to reduce that by 25F or 15C. So, okay, so we have the ovens turned on, they're heating up, and we also need to get our cupcake tin ready, or muffin tin. All right, so we thought, since these are celebration cupcakes, birthday, baby shower, wedding, whatever, a get-together, celebrating something, a promotion, that we should have some festive cupcake liners. So we have some of these colored ones here, different colors, because we want to set a festive tone with our celebration cupcakes. So we have this ready. We're going to set this aside and we're going to get to mixing these ingredients now. Okay, we're going to start by getting our dry ingredients together, get these sifted. We have some cake flour here. Now, in order to come out with the recipe just as we have it here, you need to follow the directions to the point, because we've reimagined the cupcake. We've deconstructed and reconstructed, and this is what we believe to be the ultimate cupcake. So many vanilla cupcake recipes call for just regular all-purpose flour. We are using cake flour. We found that it gives a more tender and moist crumb. If you do not have cake flour in your area or in your pantry, you can make it easily. So with this recipe, you're just going to remove 2 tablespoons of the flour and replace those 2 tablespoons with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And that will give you something comparable to cake flour. Okay, so let's get this into our sieve and get it sifted. Well, we have, as I said, we have cake flour here. So this is about 150 grams of cake flour, or 1 1/4 cups. So let's just drop that into our sieve. And then for our leaveners, we have 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and about 1/4 teaspoon of fine sea salt. So we're going to get that in. And let's just sift all that together. If you end up with any clumps or lumps, you can just work those on through with your hand. Okay, we have our dry ingredients. So we're just going to set our dry ingredients aside and get on with our wet ingredients. To kick off our wet ingredients, we're going to start by mixing together room temperature butter. We have 1 stick, or 113 grams here. And we have sugar, just granulated sugar, about, we have about 150 grams of sugar here that we're just going to plop in, and that's about 1/2 cup. So 1/2 cup of sugar, granulated sugar, and just get that into your bowl. All right, now it's important to use room temperature butter. Some of the recipes that we tested used melted butter, and what we found was that melted butter, because it's melted, kind of made the crumb or the cake part of the cupcake kind of stodgy. And since it was kind of heavy, it would sink a little bit to the bottom of the batter, make for a greasy bottom on your cupcake and a more dense cupcake. So by mixing the butter with the sugar, it's going to whip a little bit of air into the butter and the sugar mixture. And also it's going to suspend better throughout the batter and not sink as it bakes. So it's really important that you do not melt the butter, even though maybe the recipe you have says to melt the butter. So let's go ahead. We're going to start this on slow and get this mixed up. You just want to beat it for about 3 minutes until it's nice and creamy. And if your butter is room temperature, and by room temperature it means you can press into it and the butter still holds its shape, but it's not greasy or sloppy. And also, if you want to get more technical, about 70 degrees. You don't want to go above 70 degrees with the internal temperature of your butter. If you have a probe thermometer, you can just stick that in and test the temperature. Okay, we'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes and our butter and sugar mixture is looking quite creamy. Let's go ahead and scrape our bowl down. Take a look at it. So as you can see, this is looking very fluffy and creamy, just how we want it. Not melted, whipped up, and looking nice and creamy and fluffy with the sugar. Okay, let's get that back in there. Now we're going to add our egg whites in one at a time. We have 2 egg whites, so let's go ahead and get those in as we mix. There's 1. And once you get it incorporated, you can add the second one. We're just making sure that we get everything mixed in really well before any new additions. Okay, and let's put the second one in and keep on mixing. I'm going to quickly scrape down. This is looking really good, but I've got a little bit of butter that has kind of stuck to the sides here, so we want to make sure we get that mixed in. Okay, just mix it in a little bit more. And that looks fine. That's exactly what we want. Now we're going to mix in our sour cream. So let's get that in. We have about 60 grams or a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Now the sour cream will react nicely with our baking soda to help to give some rise to our cupcakes. And we have our vanilla and our secret ingredient, which is almond extract. So vanilla extract, about 1½ teaspoon, and a small smidgen of almond extract, about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Now, you don't want to leave out the almond extract. Please go out and get some. It's what's going to really set this apart. It's not going to taste like almond, but it's going to give you that rich bakery flavor. So let's go ahead and get that all in there. And let's continue mixing our wet ingredients. We're not going to add our milk right now because we're going to alternate that with the dry ingredients as soon as we get this mixed up really well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the bowl. Now you can use a stand mixer, but where you can use a hand mixer, I find is much easier to do than getting your stand mixer out. For cookies and things like that, or big cakes, yeah, stand mixer. But I love this hand mixer because it's cordless, it's can shaped, so I can set it down like this. It's got 7 speeds. The beaters pop out easily. It's perfect. I hate having a cord. I hate those hand mixers that flop over when you set them down. So you just recharge this every once in a while and you're good to go. Okay, so looking good here. So what we're going to do now is put in half of our dry mixture that we prepared at the start. Just get in half of that. And remember, anytime you're making a bake and you're putting the flour in, you want to be very gentle. So I'm actually going to fold it in. And folding means that you just go around the bowl, cut through the center, bring the batter up from the bottom and go back around again. Up and around and back in again. You're just folding, you're not beating aggressively, you're not developing that gluten as you would if you were beating vigorously. So I like to do this part by hand actually. Okay, most of that flour is already in, so now I'm going to do all of my milk. Okay, and I am going to go back to beating now that the milk is in there, but very slowly, on slow, just until everything is incorporated nicely. Remember, we have to be really careful once the flour goes in. We don't want to overbeat. And I'm thinking that's good enough. I'm just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, go on around, and get in the rest of that flour. There you go. And once again, I'm just going to fold it in around the edges of the bowl, cutting through the middle, bringing the batter up from the bottom of the bowl around to the top, cutting in through and going around until you see no more streaks of flour. Okay, just around the bowl, scraping the sides, get that flour that's kind of hanging out there. You don't want to leave that there. And just fold through gently. You're not overbeating. And there we go. We have our batter finished. We're going to get this into the tins and we're going to bake it. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to do a little bit of cleanup here and we're going to get these into the tins. Okay, well, we didn't want to bore you to death, so we went ahead and filled the liners already. And it's okay if you end up having one that's smaller than the others. So here we have it. We have our batter into our cupcake or a muffin tin, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to pop this in the oven. If you like this muffin tin, I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description box below. And remember that we put a link to the recipe in the description box below too, so that you can go over to our Substack newsletter and get the recipe there. But we'll go ahead and put the quantities on our screen here and the link below. Okay, let's pop these into the oven. We have it heated up at 350. All right, our ultimate vanilla cupcakes. They look so good, they smell so good. They're completely cooled down now. So we're going to get on with making our vanilla buttercream. So I have 2 sticks or about 226 grams of butter. That's about 1 cup in my bowl already. I'm going to whip that for about, or beat that for about, 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and fluffy. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And as soon as we have it nice and fluffy, we'll be right back. Okay, it's been almost 5 minutes and our butter is looking much whiter and very fluffy. Take a look at that. That's exactly how you want that butter to look. Nice and fluffy, whipped full of air, and much lighter in color. It's almost white right now. So let's go ahead and scrape down our bowl and start to get this powdered sugar in. So we're going to start with half of the powdered sugar. So let me get half of that in. Okay. And we're going to cover this with a tea towel because we don't want our powdered sugar flying everywhere. So let me go ahead and cover this and get the first half mixed in pretty good. Start it on slow first. You can see the powdered sugar is already trying to come out everywhere. That happens. But you don't want it going all over your kitchen. You have a huge mess to clean up. Okay, so I think we got most of it in. Go ahead and stop this. Scrape down my bowl. Get that powdered sugar off the side of the bowl and into the bowl. Now, I think American buttercream is the best buttercream to use for celebration, a little bit on my finger, for celebration cupcakes. It's quintessential and it can be very sweet, but we're not going to make it terribly sweet. But it really is the best, I believe, for birthday cupcakes or celebration cupcakes. Let's get the other half in. And we're not going to put a whole lot. We're not going to have like a big ice cream cone on top of our cupcakes. People don't like that really. It looks nice, looks fun, looks festive, but people don't want to eat that. All right, so we got our second half in. Let's go ahead and cover this with our tea towel and pulse it at first. Check on it under there. All right, I think that's pretty much mixed in. So we're just going to scrape down the bowl because we have some powdered sugar hanging around on the sides, possibly on the bottom, which we don't want. We want to have a nice uniform consistency with our buttercream. Now this is looking pretty stiff as you can see, but don't worry, we're going to take care of that. So we have about, let's see, we have about 1.5 tablespoons of some heavy cream. So we're going to plop that in there. Okay. We have about 1 tablespoon of sour cream. This will help to make it very creamy. It'll still be very pipeable. We'll get that in there. We have about 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Let's plop that in. And a pinch of salt. Salt makes everything taste better. It doesn't make it taste salty, it just brings all the other flavors out. All right, so let me stop that and give another scrape down. Now you can see that the frosting is looking delicious. Nice and creamy and smooth. Just how we want it for our celebration cupcakes. All right, I'm just gonna scrape down because I do have some nefarious creatures hanging around on the side of the bowl. All right, get it all down in there. And I'm going to beat this for about 3 minutes on a medium speed. So go ahead and beat that for 3 minutes. Okay, our frosting, our vanilla American buttercream frosting, perfect combination for these vanilla cupcakes that we have right over here. You're going to love this. Now I'm going to get this into a piping bag and we're going to pipe these babies. So let me do that and we will be right back. So the easiest way that I have found to pipe frosting onto cupcakes is to put my piping bag into some type of container like a tall cup or glass and fill it that way. Now I have a pretty large round nozzle or tip at the end of my piping bag. You can choose to do a star, any type of other nozzle that you like, but I'm going to go with a classic blob on the top, like a little bubble on the top of each cupcake. Now, I'm not going to put a lot of frosting on each one because people don't like a lot of frosting. You want these to be successful at your get-together, at your birthday party. You don't want to have a huge mound of frosting on top of a little cupcake. People are going to like push that off to the side and then eat the cake. So we're going to put about 40 grams on top of each of these cupcakes. So let's go ahead and fill our bag by just getting, see, it's so easy to do when you're using a container to hold your piping bag. Okay, and just get it, we're going to get it all in there as quickly as we can. A little bit more here. We don't want to leave any of this behind. Okay, so let's get rid of that. I'm actually going to measure to see what my 40 grams will look like. So you can see what 40 grams will look like. So I'm just going to shake this down, shuffle it down, get it down towards the nozzle. I'll squeeze a little bit out to get started. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to just twist this because I don't want anything coming out the other end. So let's just take one cupcake, place it here. Let's see what 40 grams looks like. Okay, that's about 50. So that's quite a bit already. So you don't need a whole lot. Okay, maybe we can put some more on. Let's go ahead and give a little bit more than 40. Something like that. Okay, and we're going to just keep doing these. And almost done. Okay, there we go. We have a little bit left over, but that's okay. Now, since these are celebration cupcakes, we're going to want to put some sprinkles on. So let's go ahead and get some of these nice rainbow sprinkles on here. Okay, looking good. These are looking mighty good. Just sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. And we're done. There we are with our cupcakes, our vanilla celebration cupcakes. Let's go ahead and give these a bite, shall we? Good. These are so moist. The texture, the crumb is just delicious. Do try this recipe for our ultimate vanilla celebration cupcakes. I'm going to keep on eating this if you don't mind. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that little button right down there. And if you like this recipe, you might like this one up here too. See you later. Thanks for joining us on Mountaintop Kitchen today. So good.